Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight with a vinyl update. It's been a couple of months. I wanted to wait. I had some stuff going on. It was my birthday a couple of weeks ago. Made the old record store trip, the first post-COVID record store trip. Shoutouts to Red Squirrel Records for being the best. And yeah, we have a lot to get through. Let's jump right into it. Okay, we're going to start off with some of my favorite records of this year, 2021, that I've managed to pick up. First off, on the metal front, it's the new Gojira album, Fortitude. This album blew my damn socks off. I've always been a Gojira fan at heart. I've seen them live. They put on a hell of a show. I was always a little iffy on their early stuff, still am, but I feel like they're on a creative streak right now like no other, and this album freaking rips. I love this lyric sheet that we get here. Looks like looks pretty handwritten, but I mean I know it's not, but it looks that. I like that aesthetic in a lyric sheet. And I was about to say straight up black vinyl, but it's not. This is the black ice vinyl. It is a clear black vinyl. Yeah, one of my favorite metal projects of the year, easily. I mean, between the singles here, like Born for One Thing, and Amazonia, and The Chant, as well as some of the deep cuts here, like my favorite, Hold On. This is a great progressive groove metal and art metal project. Okay, up next, sticking with the themes of the best metal of the year, I would be remiss to not talk about this latest Harakiri for the Sky project, My Air. I love this album. I love everything about this album. I've really loved their style of progressive black metal for years. How atmospheric it is. This is just such an epic work. But much like, the new Tribulation record that came out earlier this year, this is a really interesting black metal project because of just how raw and emotional it is. I mean, it's a very heartbroken black metal record at times. Really love this inside inner sleeve. This is just one of the most black metal things I've seen all year. Just these two people looking out into the woods. Love it. I mean, I would highly recommend, attempting the hard mode on the new Resident Evil when blasting this. Straight up, nothing fancy black vinyl, but it sounds absolutely fantastic. If you are a fan of modern black metal, of the atmospheric variety, and don't mind it getting a little emotional, this is certainly a really fantastic album. Now, you've heard me say it a million times on my channel this year. This year has been booming for post-punk and art punk, which leads me to this Squid album, Bright Green Field. Easily one of the best things I've heard of any genre this year. The grooves on this album, the frantic performances on this album, and the singles here, God, between Pamphlets and my personal favorite, Narrator, there are so many tracks on here that are easily some of my favorite rock tracks of the year. These guys, I can't help but be super excited for them. Nice little lyric sheet on the insert. Some pretty, these are actually, I'm pretty sure these are single covers as well for the inner sleeves. But, straight up black vinyl. Sounds great. This thing goes hard. Love Squid. One of the more exciting bands in post-punk right now. Also, speaking of ambitious debut albums, it's this one that came out of friggin' nowhere. Black Country New Road for the first time. This album is freaky, man. This album is really great. I mean, it's jazzy at some points, it's hellish at the others. There are certainly influences all over the map. It's a little jazzy. It's pretty out there lyrically. It's very exciting. There's a lot of exciting things going on in art punk and post punk right now. Now this one, God, these guys went all out on their inner packaging. I didn't even realize this at first, but this came with a lyric booklet with artwork for each track. Packaging, man, like these guys really knocked it out of the park. Straight borrowed black vinyl. Sounds great. Yeah, these guys absolutely rip. This year has been fantastic for post-punk. Also, want to shout out the new Painted Shrines album. This is their debut album, Heaven and Holy. This is the coming together of Woods as well as Sky Green Leopards. And, you know, as I was at first kind of, you know, expecting just a toss away side project from these two guys, but truthfully, just a really feel good, eerie folk rock and indie folk album, and it brings back the jam elements of early Woods records, which is something I, you know, actually really miss over the years. Pretty straightforward inner packaging. You know what you get in here, black vinyl. Sounds fantastic if you're into, you know, feel good indie folk and folk rock with a little bit of a ghoulish underbelly. This is certainly an album that you'd like to check out this year. Moving right along from some of my favorites of this year to some of my favorites of last year that I finally got to pick up. First up, oh boy, my favorite album of the year last year. It's Fleet Foxes, It's Sure. Why is this light glaring? There we go. That's beautiful. Yeah, latest from Fleet Foxes, It's Sure. Listen, this may not be as progressive as Crack Up or as, you know, I don't know, full of life as Hopelessness Blues, but something about this album I needed last year. I needed it so much last year. This is just a feel-good, breezy folk album that just reminded me of what I liked about Fleet Foxes in the first place. And I really love the packaging on here. Once again, we get some inner lyrics on this bad boy. Gonna get to that in a second, but straightforward, black vinyl, nothing fancy. I haven't even put it on the table just yet. This actually just came in the mail yesterday. But I'm sure that it sounds fantastic. And I also want to point out that these guys from Fleet Foxes drew in a poster as well, which is something I always salute. And you know what? It's simple, but my goodness, is it ever gorgeous. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this album. It may not be, you know, 2 years from now, I don't think I'd even call it my favorite Fleet Foxes album, but in 2020, I needed to feel good, and this album made me feel good. Coming up next, my runner-up for album of the year last year. Oh boy, it's the latest from Aesop Rock, the legendary Jabberwocky Superfly himself, Spirit World Field Guide. This album still just is an experience for me, listening to it from start to finish. And lyrically, you could just dive in and take so much from this album. The packaging on this thing, on the vinyl, is ridiculous. Love the outer fold. The inner fold is just as gorgeous and weird and full of eccentricities, much like the music of Ace himself. Nice clear vinyl as well. It also came with some pretty freaking cool decals that I have yet to dive into. Let me see if I could break them out and show them. Yeah, here they are. I can barely see them, but they are. Oh yeah, there they are. Haven't done anything with those yet. Maybe, you know, put some on the old turntable when I get the chance. And finally, one of my favorite EPs from last year, found this for a great price, and I'm still loving the hell out of this thing. This is a great EP to just pop on in the car and feel good and drive around. It's the latest from Daywave, Jackson Phillips and the boys. Oh, I love this thing. I was such a huge fan of Daywave in like the first few EPs. I thought they had a great hazy sound that reminded me of like the early days of, I don't know, Washed Out, Neon Indian, that kind of stuff. But this is just a really breezy, feel-good indie pop EP, straight up black vinyl. Really great tracks on here. Potions, Starting Again. Literally just, it's 4 tracks, but it's 4 great indie pop tracks that you just want to listen to over and over. And this is just a really great little EP crush. Rest of my pickups are basically things that I should have probably had in my collection a while back, and for one reason or not, I just haven't. First up, though, this was actually a birthday present from a friend of mine. He knows I'm a Mac head. Little Fleetwood Mac, early live 80s album. It's a pretty solid record. I mean, this is a pretty great set list. It's early from the Tusk tour of all things, but I mean, you know what you're getting here. It's all the classics. There's actually not that many tracks from Tusk on here, ironically. It's mostly the self-titled album and Little Rumors action. But yeah, it's a great live recording from the guys from an interesting time in their career. Love this little inner sleeve as well. Coming up next, I'm going to be perfectly honest with y'all. The hardcore section of my collection is lacking. I don't know. There's not a lot of good hardcore stores around where I'm from, and I don't know. I could never really dive into the hardcore crates around these parts, but every once in a while I see something and I need to grab it because it means a lot to me for one way and another. Gorilla Biscuits start today. Really great hardcore record. I always loved them so much. I thought they had a really great, understanding of how to write a catchy pop tune, but one that had, a ton of teeth to it as well. It's also from, a really interesting time in punk. Nice, bright, red vinyl. Sounds fantastic. Love these guys. I don't know. Some people prefer the self-titled album, but I grew up with this one. This one's just, classic. It also came with a poster, one that I actually think is really pretty freaking cool. Love me some Gorilla Biscuits. Then I figured I would just, round out the whole Joy Division part of my collection. I didn't have a copy of Closer, and I don't know why. It's an album that took me so much longer to really love and really appreciate, much more than Unknown Pleasures. Don't ask why. It just did. It took me a long time to really wrap my head around this record. It's a weird and freaky one, but it's a classic. Straight black vinyl, but you don't really need anything crazy here. Iconic artwork, very minimal inner sleeve, and just, it's Joy Division's Closer. Means to an End is easily one of my favorite Joy Division tracks as well. And, I'm all over the place over here. I should have tried about this a little while ago, but I didn't. It's the latest from Metz. It's Atlas Vending. This is the blood-pumping post-hardcore record I needed last year. I mean, if you're a fan of anybody from, Drive Like Jehu to Fugazi, you're going to want to hear this. This is a pumping, sweaty, dirty post-hardcore record. Hail Taxi is a jam. Once again, I don't know what's going on with posters today, but we got another one here. I got no place to put them right now. But I don't know. I love this style of Metz. They've done posters like this in the past. It's very simplistic, but it's also very much so them. Also, they are on tour right now with Preoccupations, and you're damn right I am going to be getting a ticket to that. Pretty, this is the same thing that we got on the poster on the inside. Love that. Straight black vinyl. If you haven't listened to this album yet and you consider yourself a post-hardcore head, you're gonna want to dive into this head first. And yes, it's not as catchy or as sweaty or as garage influenced as their self-titled debut, but I personally love this thing. Just about done. I saw this in my local record store and I couldn't pounce on it faster enough. One of my all-time favorite projects of any band. It's Mount Eerie, Lost Wisdom. I'm such a huge Phil Halpern head. Lost Wisdom was the first project that I ever heard about him years before I listened to his microphone stuff or any of his later stuff with Mount Eerie. This is where it started for me. It's a short work. It's basically an EP. It's only like 20-25 minutes long, but it is one of his most powerful recordings, and I love just how quiet and just how helpless it is. Oh, it's so good. It's so freaking good. We get here also the packaging on this thing. Phil really outdid himself. First off, we once again, God, what is going on today? We do have a very much so Mount Eerie poster on the inside, which is just this dreary looking cabin on the one side, I should say. We get some lyrics as well as the woods on the other side. It's very black metal of you, Phil, if I do say so myself. And it's a nice white vinyl. Once again, this just actually has not been on my record player yet. It has not been on the table just yet, but I am very excited to listen to this thing. I haven't in quite a while, probably too long to be honest. Okay, and finally, this is a funny one. I've been listening to this album so much over the last year, and I walked into my record store 2 weeks ago with the sole intention of finding this album because I didn't have it in my collection, and they had one copy of it. Hell yes, that's a great find. Self-titled Vivian Girls album. This is just such a great little noise pop and indie pop album. It's so short, it's so sweet, but they wrote songs that were so freaking catchy and concise and just so punchy and raw. Oh, I can't say anything bad about this album. They're lovely ladies on the inside. Love them. And a nice lavender white split vinyl. Yeah, this is just a really fantastic debut. The rest of their discography is pretty damn good too. I know a lot of people fell off with these ladies, but I wouldn't. So yes, that's the latest in my vinyl collection. As always, if you like this kind of video, give me a like, give us a subscribe, let me know that this is the kind of stuff that you want to see. I only do this every couple of months, because I like things to pile up. I like to have a lot to show you guys. But for now, have a great day, guys.